And we are live. I have with me Meaghan from Florentis Learning, and she has curriculum for ESL students. Tell us a little about yourself and your curriculum.
Sure. So I'm Meaghan. I'm Canadian, and I have been an instructional designer and curriculum consultant for years and years and years, about 20 now, I think. I'm also a former classroom teacher and taught science and math and physics in the classroom, and then moved to teaching online. And I've taught online for probably 7 or 8, it might be 8 years now. So for a while, but I've been designing curriculum and online learning, so e-learning courses for a wide range of audiences, everything from how to pack a military plane in the event of a medical emergency so that they can find all of the medications and where they are and ship it off to a disaster zone, to laser eye surgery, to concussion awareness for kids. So quite a wide range of topics. And I really just enjoy making things that are super polished and things that I'm proud to use and proud to have other people use. And so Florentis Learning is ready to use lessons designed for, they're primarily designed for online learning, but they could also be used in a homeschool situation or something like that as well.
Okay, yes, and I think your curriculum is really good. I looked through, I got your starter pack in preparation for this video, but it's very interactive. It actually reminds me of Go-Go Kids more. I don't know, which ESL companies did you work for when you worked?
So I didn't work for Go-Go Kid, actually.
Okay.
But I taught for Magic Years and VIP Kid. Okay. And I had actually applied to Go-Go Kid sort of at the end of things, but that process never got finished. I never actually was hired there. So VIP Kid and Magic Years was where I had taught, and now I teach independently. And so all of my students are private students, which means I don't have to share the cut of the lesson revenue with any other company, which is nice.
Right. So I think if you teach independently, or if you use a marketplace like OutSchool, I know our friend Kathy Kelly, she uses your curriculum and she's the one that recommended, and she teaches for OutSchool. Oh, and there she is, speaking of. Hello, Kathy. So yes, your curriculum is really good. She also has a YouTube channel that goes along with the curriculum, but just tell us a little about the curriculum, and if you want to show us, I know you have that ready, and I have some stuff ready to show too.
So we'll just share my screen. I have a few slides, and then I have the curriculum open and logged in. So we can sort of go back and forth, and I can sort of show whatever.
Right. Oh, are you allowed to say, did you do curriculum for one of the ESL companies?
I did, no, not for one of the companies, but for another company, I did curriculum.
Okay.
And quite a few lessons, and ultimately it all comes from the fact that because I'm teaching online and independently, I don't want to be struggling to find lessons, right? So, right. You know, it's like, what is it, right? Like it's you want to be able to, just like when I taught for VIP Kid or Magic Years, I want to really just be able to start and just teach. Yes. And not struggle and say, oh, what am I going to teach today? Right. And it's super frustrating that way. So
yes.
So this is Florentis Learning, which essentially I have a complete ESL curriculum with 6 levels, and currently covers sort of pre-A1 through B1, B2, some B2 level as well, if we're considering the Common European Framework. I have about 50 conversation lessons covering 3 different levels. And then I have writing lessons as well for beginner writers. And I have brand new phonics lessons that I've just been building over the last few weeks, I guess. And this really is to complement the core ESL curriculum and really give some focused phonics that is consistent with science of reading, consistent with sort of that phasal approach to learning, so that kids can learn a few letters and begin to read right away. And then I have placement assessment tools, which are available free. You don't need a subscription to access the tools. And so there's a general ESL placement tool, a writing assessment tool, and then a learning plan generator where you can essentially take the results and plug it in, and then the code will spit out some recommended learning goals and all of those things. And then I have a variety of sort of teacher resources. So I do live webinars. I do have one coming up next week on phonics teaching, but on the website yourself, once you're logged in, there's a whole section of games that you can use in your classroom. And I'm always trying to sort of add to that and build that collection. So this is sort of, the everything in a nutshell in terms of what is in Florentis Learning. And every single week there's new lessons added, which is super exciting. It's exciting for me because it's exciting for my students. And these lessons are tested with my students. My students, use them and move through them. And I will tweak them based on sort of their experience, or else what other teachers suggest or come back with if they've used them with their students. They're really ideal sort of for like a marketplace like OutSchool or Preply, independent online ESL teachers, anyone who's even teaching like a small group of 3 or 4 students, and you can use them for that. If you're looking for even the phonics lessons in terms of homeschoolers who are teaching kids to read, those are suitable for both English second language and native speakers. And schools or private schools who are looking for structured, leveled lessons that the teachers can use, and they're just there and they're ready to go. So sort of a little bit for everyone, but definitely very focused on that English second language, reading, all of that piece of it.
I like how you have the different options, like the conversation or the writing, because sometimes you will get people that take English for different reasons. So even at OutSchool, you have a parent that said, we're about to travel. I just want them to be able to speak, and maybe you could go straight to the conversation. Or, they're trying to take this test. We want them to do writing. You could skip straight to the writing. Or just like VIP Kid or Go-Go Kid or any of those Magic Ears, you start with level 1 and they want, a long term. So there's kind of something for everyone there.
Yeah. And that sort of was, part of my plan, in that, for instance, and you bring up travel, I have 3 travel focused speaking lessons that I developed specifically for one of my students, that they were going traveling to England, and the parents were like, we're leaving in 2 weeks. And my student needs to, they need to be able to speak at the hotel and at the restaurant and those types of things. So there's very specific lessons there around airport terminology, hotel stuff, sightseeing. And then there's how to order a hamburger and how to order pizza. And so different toppings and upsizing it and all of that sort of, more colloquial English language that you're not going to see in that sort of structured curriculum that is very much focused on sort of the how people speak in general versus all of the expressions and all of those things that we see when we have conversations with people. So
right. And that's usually if we're traveling to another country and we're trying to crash course in a language, those are the things we want to learn too. Yeah. I want to show your YouTube channel, because you also have a lot of really good just tips. And even if somebody didn't buy your curriculum, you have some great tips on student engagement and things like that. How to do different things. I'll just show, but
it's relatively new. I've been really trying to add stuff, but I want it to be useful to teachers, right? I want it to. stuff that if I was going to be starting teaching ESL that I needed to know. Or even as an experienced teacher, like the speaking one I did the other day, it was full of practical things that people could do in a speaking class to really get kids talking. And there's always ideas, no matter how experienced you are. You can always be like, oh, that's a cool game idea and I can use it. Or, oh, I hadn't thought of that. So, yeah, so that's sort of been my focus. And it's small, but I'm trying to grow it. It's certainly relatively new.
Right. And so I got her starter pack in preparation for this. So I want to show that because sometimes it's an investment to start to buy something or start paying a monthly fee. So you have it so people can try it out. You have 2 lessons from each category, so they could even try it on their students and see how it goes before purchasing. Let's see. I think it's this one, sample pack. So mine says enroll now. Oh wait, I thought I already had it.
Logged in.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay. If you have it up here, you can share.
I can pull the sample pack up.
Okay, because they had there was some good stuff in there.
Yeah, so the sample pack has, so it's just here. So if you don't have it, you can go and you can grab it, and it's free. You get 17 lessons with it. And I don't know why it's telling me to enroll because I'm logged in. Oh, because I didn't have the free one. That's fine. So I'm just going to start it. And so for the core ESL curriculum, there are 2 lessons per level, as you mentioned, Kelly. So there is an animals on the farm and a clothing lesson. And maybe I'll just flip through the level 1. All of the lessons have this box at the front. And it's really important to put the student's name in there and your name because they are used in different places in the lesson. And they're also used on the feedback form at the end. So if you want to provide parent feedback, then you want to make sure that name is in there so that you don't have to type it and it will customize that for you. And then you get screens like this. So, you get that screen down in the bottom corner. So you don't want to see all this when you're teaching. You can just go down and you can expand it to full screen. And then the student gets that sort of full screen experience, which is nice. My students have become very good at rewarding themselves with stars when they decide. So there are stars. There's a built-in reward system. These are sort of that drag and drop and, sort of that sentence phrase. Because this is level 1, it's really just got the how are you. But then in level 2, we move to having how are you and how's the weather with pictures to drag. So sort of that everyday conversation. And we always have those questions and those discussions with students anyway. Tend to have a warm-up song, and then we get into vocabulary. Some of the units, like this one, have sound effects. So if you actually click on the goat, it makes a goat sound. Or if you click on the horse will make a horse sound, for instance. And so sometimes you can use that to prompt students as well. And then this one, you can either click or you can have your students click. And it's really just a randomizer, and it pulls them up and what is it, and you can practice your sentences. Then there are sort of those practicing. So built in, the kids really enjoy this. They like picking out the pictures and, choosing what they are. There's some disappearing pictures so that they can guess before all the boxes go away. And then some more encouraging students to speak, encouraging students even at a very young level to start with the sounds and spelling these. And they've seen the words now a few times. And it's really surprising, even though they're like, oh, but they're level 1, they don't know how to spell. They actually often can get those right. And it's a great teaching opportunity. And so they get into some very simple, what are they? This is reading, right? They are goats, 1 goat, 2 goats. You'll find it's very, repetitive. At this point in the curriculum, if you're using the full curriculum, they've also already learned their colors. And so then this reinforces colors again. And then the standard sentences, like, do they live on the farm? Yes, they do. And so you can have them repeat, or you can read with them. It is really surprising how quickly they'll pick up on a lot of these words. The horse is brown, and they'll be able to pick out keywords and actually do the reading. And then this one is sort of reinforcing that grammar, right? So we have 2 goats and we have our 1 goat, so we can label them. And just sort of reinforce that. Same, we have 1 horse and 3 horses. You don't have to move them either. You could leave them. And then this one is reinforcing, is it a horse or is it horses? And getting them to pay attention to the S. And the same thing with the goats. And then even putting the sentences together. So the same key sentences over and over again, lots of reinforcement, lots of opportunity to practice, and built-in listening. So really considering if students do happen to be taking like one of the Cambridge English exams, like a starter or a mover, you know, they're going to encounter listening. They're going to have speaking. They're going to have, you know, the multiple choice type questions. So trying to build some of that in to the design, so that if the parent says, oh, my child's taking this exam, and you're like, oh, I wish I knew that 3 months ago.
Right.
It's not as much of a big deal if you've been following through with the curriculum, because they already know, right? They've already been prepared. They've seen similar questions. These are stars, so you can award your stars, and you can copy the starter feedback, which is nice, so that I can be done super fast.
I love that. I noticed that, like, you have the feedback, like, templates already to help, and stars, right, just like you did at VIP Kid and GoGo Kid, and I'm sure all the others.
And then really, like, and yes, there's still space. You could customize it. You can do it how you want. But if you want to have that, if you're teaching independently or on a marketplace and you want to sort of set yourself apart, I can screenshot this and send this to a parent and say, here you go. Here's some feedback for your child today.
Oh, okay. So this doesn't automatically go to the student. But you screenshot it. Okay.
Yeah. So I screenshot it and send it.
Okay.
And in the last lesson of the unit, there's actually a certificate. So it automatically fills in their name. They said, oh, congratulations, you've completed level 1 animals on the farm, and you can send them the screenshot. And so the parents and the students are usually pretty excited about getting oh, I got my certificate. And so that's super fun as well. So there's lots in here to explore. This is a brand new lesson from maybe a week or 2 ago, and it's about shopping, but it's not just boring shopping. We're going to shop at a comic book store, and we also have flashcards. So there's downloadable flashcards you can download. You can send those to your parents, and the kids can then practice with the words. This one is fun. I like this one. I'll just open a few of the screens. And let me go down here. So this, you can see we jumped up to level 3. We've got, you know, weather and how are you. But if we just take a quick scroll, so down at the bottom, you can jump. You can see, you know, right away that there is a difference in the lessons, but the comic book stores is great. So we're purchasing games and comics at the comic book store.
And that's fun for kids. And I have somebody that said, Lacey, I just did this lesson with my student and he loved it. Nice.
Awesome. Yes, Lacey's been using the curriculum for, I think about a month, maybe. But I know she's tried out quite a few of the lessons and had some good success. So that's awesome. Yeah, the comic book ones. I was like, well, we don't really want to buy like vegetables. Kids don't want to buy vegetables, right? So they want to buy comic books and games, and so it's all about comic books. You know, you're going to the comic shop, they spill the comics everywhere, and they clean them up, of course. So it's very, very visual. There's lots of prompts you can use on the screen to help with the words, and even with the questions, to help with the questions. It it's lots of fun. The kids like to talk about, so they're still learning cashier and buy, and it's this many dollars and those types of things, but they're learning it with something that's way more fun than just groceries.
Right.
This one has so this is level 3. So we have, sort of this setup for speaking, right? So what do you want to look at in the store? And you can talk about a variety of different pictures. And there are some prompts on here so that they can, we want to look at the books, or we want to look at the candy, or those types of things. And you can also pull out some question prompts if you need that as support for your student. And then one of the things that I like, so I don't know if you've ever played tic-tac-toe, but with your kids, but I love play. They love it, right? It's and so instead of making a board where I in advance predetermine what the kids need to practice, right?
Mm-hmm.
This allows you to type in whatever you want. And so I could put comic, I could put in phonics words like muck and truck, and I could put in buy and cashier. I can take review words from previous lessons. And the nice thing is once you've filled these out, so maybe, you're partway through and I'm going to play, and you jump to play, right? And then you just hit the back arrow. It takes you back to where you were. But if you come back here to play at the end of the game, you haven't lost your words. Your words are all still here.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. And I didn't know you could jump that way, because I noticed like the feedback came before the tic-tac-toe. So that's good. You could kind of skip around.
The tic-tac-toe. Yeah. So the tic-tac-toe is always the very last screen in the lesson, and it's always in the menu. So you can just jump from the menu to the tic-tac-toe. And then this little arrow takes you back to whatever screen you came from. So if you were halfway through, all the way through, wherever you were, you can use that. And so it's way more convenient to use that button than it is to do it sort of any other way. And there's also lots of dialogue. So you'll find lots of dialogue in it because we want kids talking, right?
Yes.
So,
yes. And it's more simple. Lacey says yes, over a month ago. Great. So we have 2 people that use the curriculum here in the chat, Kathy and Lacey. So it reminds me of Go-Go Kids because theirs was a lot more simple. It was usually like 1 word or just like 2 back and forth. Whereas remember, VIP Kid was so wordy, especially like back in the very early days, like the level 2 was even too wordy enough where people complained and they redid it and made it simpler. But I like how this is like take 1 word and we repeat it a whole bunch and really help them get it.
Especially in the lower levels, they need that, right? They need that reinforcement and that repetition, or else they don't remember it.
Right.
And I did, so there's a whole unit in level 1 on toys, and I have 2 level 1 students, one who's just moved to the level 2 part, but they're brother and sister, and the brother just isn't quite as quick as the sister. And so, we've taken a little bit longer. We've, repeated some lessons sometimes. But the other day, and it's been probably almost a month, maybe 2 months since we did the toy unit in level 1. And I was like, you know what? This was a new lesson. I'm going to go try this out with him. And so I did. And so this one is just one of the conversation units for beginners and simply on my favorite toy. And I was like, I wonder whether he can still read this, whether he still remembers his words, because he's in China. He doesn't necessarily speak English outside of class. Mm-hmm. And, he did a great job. He was able to, recall the names of these toys. He could respond in full sentences still. He's one of my students that awards himself stars whenever he decides he wants them. Mm-hmm. But he was pretty quick to move through the lesson, and it worked really, really well for him. And he would circle, like, do I have a robot? And he's like, yes. And he's like circling the robot in the picture. And so that's the other thing about it, is that I've tried to be very graphical in the images, mm-hmm. so that there is extension, right? You don't need to have like, oh, let's read and read and read and read. We can talk about this picture, right? Like, you know, whose bedroom is it? What do you see in the bedroom? We can get into the bed. We can talk about the dresser. We can talk about the closet. And those are, you know, great opportunities again to do some of that review. He really was quite into this one because he figured out he could click the thumbs up and thumbs down and it would give him answers, which he knew. And then the other thing is that you can drag these things over here. So he would drag, do you have a robot? And he'd drag it over. And then there is a second question. Do you like robots? And so he would pick what he wanted. And so he really did drive the lesson. You know, he drug the doll over and he's like, no, I don't. So, you know, trying to get them engaged and interactive. These are something that are super fun. So with Magic Ears, we could move the kids' heads around the screen and you could put them on your dialogues. But you can't do that in all of our teaching platforms that we're using. Like if we're using Zoom or something like that, you can't do that. But this way you can assign the student, and this is the same picture that they get from the very beginning of the lesson, the welcome screen, the goodbye screen, and we can do a dialogue, but we could also then switch and say, you know what, why don't you ask the questions? And so it just becomes super clear for them in terms of, oh, what am I doing? What is the teacher doing? And so
I like that.
Yeah.
And then why can't you do this in Zoom?
Oh, you can, but but in the Magic Ears platform, you could actually take the heads from the cameras and drag them anywhere on your screen.
Oh, okay, interesting.
And so this works. So this is sort of my version of let's take the heads and drag them anywhere on the screen. Right. But it was like actually the camera images that you were dragging all over the screen. It was sort of cool. But I was like, oh, I wish I could do that because then they know what they're supposed to read. Yeah. And you can actually have a conversation versus them just reading the whole thing, for instance. So
I like that.
Like, because this is a beginner one, there's some, you know, clues. Like my favorite has some hearts and stuff like that, just to help with the words. And this is the same, right? So again, repetition, right? But you get to make your own. So you can put in your own images, you can put in your own toys, right? And talk about the colors and what's your favorite. So still practicing, but, you know, a little bit of customization or interaction. The students really enjoy moving things around. You know, you can give them control to let it do it in something like Zoom, or if you're using something like Koala Go, which is a co-browser, they already have access, right? It's like you're viewing the same screen. It works really well. And then we get into a few extra words. Again, this one is a great review, right? So where possible, if I've got a unit and I've got a speaking lesson, I try to connect those so that people know that they exist. And this one, some of these things move too. I want a robot. So where we can move toys off shelves, and we try to do that. And again, and then, you know, dragging in that review with, you know, who you play with. Well, they've learned brother and sister and friend, and now we get to practice those words again. So, yeah.
Kathy says, sadly, when I use Zoom on OutSchool, my students cannot click on things and drag them. Not sure why. I have to do all of the interactive elements. Well, in regular Zoom, I haven't taught OutSchool in a while, but there's a way that you could give kids remote
you can give
access.
Remote control. Yeah. I wonder if OutSchool's disabled the give remote control option.
Right, possibly. Yeah, because that's too bad if they can't. And then, sometimes I wonder too if they just don't know how to do it. But
yes, but there should be like, because I know I've done it. There's a give. I think it's give remote control.
Yes. Yep, I've done it too. Yeah. So who knows? Yeah, maybe OutSchool disabled that, but yeah, look for that.
Exactly. Because if they can do stuff themselves, it's certainly more fun for them. They get super engaged. But
right. And then I saw that you're like the YouTube, you kind of just took videos from YouTube. I teach preschool, so some of those are like the same videos I see for my
super
preschoolers.
simple songs. Yeah.
Yes,
Super
yes.
simple English. Yeah. So I have some, I've been doing some videos and like my own songs, but in terms of sort of getting things out sort of quickly and having like lots of things available, I've been using a lot of the super simple songs. And then, you know, in some units, I've now got some customized songs, especially if I can't find one that I'm like, yeah, like that one just doesn't really work for me. It's just not the right song. Then I use AI to help me write the song because I don't want to sing everything. You will hear me singing in the curriculum, but I don't want to necessarily sing everything. And so I use AI to help sort of sing the song, add the music, and then I go into Canva and I animate it to make like an animated video. And so, yeah, so there's about a half a dozen like custom songs so far. But ultimately I'd like to have custom songs that, you know, are really tailored in sort of all of them.
Right. Actually, that's another reason it reminds me of Go-Go Kid. They always had a song at the beginning and a song at the end, kind of like a hello and a goodbye song.
This one is one of the writing ones, so very, very different, right? And this one is a beginner writing, so we're getting into punctuation, right? And talking about big letters and verbs, and they're completely designed. They've got they're based on Writers Workshop, which is a big thing in Canada in terms of teaching elementary school writing. And so sort of that, you know, guided support and then release to have them actually doing their own writing. And so that's sort of how these are built. They're built with this mini lesson up front. In this case, we're focused on big letters and periods. And then we write together, and then we write separately. And I'm just going to jump to right. So these ones you can, you know, look at the picture and come up with your sentence. And then what I've done is I've actually provided that reminder. So in one of the very first lessons, I teach sort of these 5 steps, like what do you want to write? Say the words, and then we count them on our fingers. And then we can draw the lines for each of the words we need to write. And then we write our sentence and read it back to make sure that we've written it. So there's these draggable tips available so that you don't, you know, if you're like, oh, okay, and they need sort of help to get started, those are available and can be moved out and in. And this one has 2 tabs. This one has one about your questions that you might like to write, and it also has your tips on how to write a sentence. The menu again is up here, so you can jump between the pieces. But there is a game of some sort. This one has just a drag and drop activity, but there's always a game of some sort. I've got board games in some of them. I've got roll and read type things. I've got roll and write. The roll and write, I don't remember which writing lesson it's in, but it's sort of like a, you know, where you roll your dice and you get, you know, so then you get 3, and so you're writing about the monkey, and then you get a 5 and you're writing about bananas. So the monkey eats bananas, or maybe the monkey eats pizza, depending on your numbers. So those are always lots of fun as well. I think Kathy's used all of the writing lessons actually.
Okay. I was going to say, Kathy and Lacey, tell me what you like best about her curriculum.
These are the ones I don't know if either of them have really looked, but maybe Lacey, but I don't know if Kathy has yet. These are the new phonics lessons, and they are so phase 2 phonics. So first lesson is like SAPT. This one is IN, and then we have enough letters to sort of do some stuff with it. So then they're only introduced to 1 or 2 letter sounds, and they are lots of fun. So they have we still always start with the how are you. We have an ABC song now. And Jack Hartman is one of my favorites for that.
Oh yeah, he's good.
He's great. And then, so we have, in this lesson, we have Ned Narwhal.
Hello, I'm Ned Narwhal.
And Ned Talks. And Iggy Iguana.
I'm Iggy Iguana.
And so we
I
see
love
them, and then they come here, and you get to see the words, and you can listen again if you want, and you can see the big N's, and then you get into the sound that N makes, and so this is the sound that Ned makes, of course, and then actually drawing the letters, and the big letters and the small letters. There's a chant, and there's audio, so you can just play it if you don't want to sing. But you'll get to listen to me sing, and sort of the introducing of some other N sounding words. And then we do the same thing with Iggy, and Iggy's pretty cute. He's one of my favorite animals that I have, but every letter has an animal that has a name. So Iggy Iguana, we have Ellie Elephant, we have Mim Monkey, we have Hal Hippo. So lots of animal names. This one there's review from like a previous lesson as well still. So this is Sam Snake. And Sam Snake, of course, is a S for snake, and a clicking one. So this has Sam Snake, and there's Dead again. Pat Pig, and Tam Tiger is the tiger that we see flipping through, and we have Annie Ant. So lots of cute characters, and so we go through that, we match, lots of interaction, and then some listening activities for listening for sounds. And then we go to this guy. You see him in a lot of my phonics slides. He likes to eat things. So this is an N. N says and he can eat them. So as you move him along, he jumps and he eats the letters. Sometimes he's eating clothing. Sometimes he's eating words, but he eats things. And a dragging activity to match your pictures and your sounds, and then really getting into like encoding and decoding and listening for those sounds.
Yeah, that's good. If changing the vowels, even when I taught at VIP Kid, if you'd have a student that went from level 2 to 3, if you could get them the vowels, especially in level 2, then they did so much better in level 3, and you could be like, just sound it out, or
exactly, right? Like if they can get that down, like that decoding, so that they know how to sound out those words, big difference. This is another version of the monster. He also likes to eat things. So
that was cute.
Kids like feeding him. And this is another monster that is mining for words. And when you click on the words, it makes rock breaking noises, and you can put them in the box.
Oh, cute. And I like the way you had writing to go along with it. Which again reminds me of Go-Go Kid. And she never worked for Go-Go Kid, you guys, because they would always they could draw it with their finger as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and that multi-sensory, right, is really important. And so that, and drawing it with the finger, making it with their body, sort of whatever you're doing, all of those pieces are really critical for phonics and really help to keep them engaged. And then they all have decodable stories. So again, super graphical, super repetitive, right? But this one obviously is focused on that short I and short A, because we have sit and sat and pat and pit, right? And they're just a couple of screens each, but they sort of build on each other. And now Ned is sitting, and Ned is in the pit as well. And then Iggy sits in the pit too. So we're bringing back some of those characters from the previous lesson. This is one of the games. So you can roll, and you can be like, oh, I'm going to be Sam. Or my students always want to be the monster. So I keep adding the monster on them because they like the monster.
Yeah.
And so they roll and read, and then a standard goodbye and a goodbye screen. And then again, you get the feedback. And so you still have that copy and paste ready to roll. So the phonics lessons are new. There's 10 lessons out. There's 4 more to go in phase 2. and then I'll move on to phase 3. So,
you know what? I think some of these lessons you could even use with students who aren't ESL. Like if you're teaching just preschool kids who are native English speakers, you could use the phonics, and same with the writing as well. So maybe if you're just tutoring, you could use some of these lessons as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The phonics and the writing work for homeschool, for tutoring, for native, like if you were teaching beginner writing on OutSchool, but not for ESL, you could still use the writing lessons. Or if you're teaching beginner reading and you want to teach phonics, so yeah, lots of the lessons work for more than just ESL. And even if you were to consider some of the core curriculum, truthfully, you could take the level 1 and level 2 and, even the level 3 lessons and use those with your native speakers who are learning to read.
Yes.
Because there's spelling in there, there's the reading, there's listening comprehension, there's reading comprehension, there's all of those things. There's still phonics and some grammar. Like there's all of the things that you want in a good language arts curriculum. And so these lessons, like these 17 lessons, are completely free. They're available to anyone. You can go, you can grab them, you can try them out. They don't expire, so you've got them for as long as you want them. And then if you pair that with the placement assessment tools, you actually could do your placement assessment and then jump over with a trial with a new student, do your placement assessment, and then you have a lesson you could use because you'd figure out what level they should be, 1, 2, 3, whatever. And then once you do your placement assessment, and there is a writing assessment and an English assessment, then you can take the results and you can throw it into the learning plan generator tool. And so the learning plan generator tool will allow you to literally put the results in and the student's name. It gives you feedback. There's a Canva template. You can copy and paste the output in. I'm just going to hit generate without putting anything in. But you get, your focus, what is recommended. You get some goals you can pick from. This was based on 1 lesson a week rather, but you can say, oh, well, the parent actually wants 3 lessons. Their goal is to improve conversational skills. You get the score from your assessment. If I put in a score of 12, it suggests what level it is, and it also tells you what the SEFR level is already. And you can choose your pronoun, which you'll want in your feedback. And so then if you do that, you get some simple feedback that you can start with editing. So you can have everything very quickly, because many teachers do free trials, right? Where they're giving away that lesson to try and entice someone to buy. Well, if you then turn around and you can take this information, put them into the Canva template, and give them a very professional looking PDF. This is our plan. These are the results. It's going to help to set you apart from other teachers too. So
I love that. And I love how you have it just generates it when you put in a little bit of information, and that's great. And Lacey says, I love the interactive features. My students love being able to move parts and interact with the elements. Yes.
Yeah. That's what my students love too. My students love that they can click things and do things themselves, right? They want to do stuff themselves. And so it's been super popular that way.
I only just flipped through them and haven't used them, but I already guessed that would be one thing the students would love about them.
And there's lots of topics, right? Like this is level 2. So, and you can see all the topics before you purchase. You can see all of those. But like if we're looking at level 2, we've got some really interesting topics, things like let's go to the beach, and my extended family, and my weekend, and the zoo. There's a zoo unit. There's, and the levels have been designed so that in level 1, they've met some farm animals. Well, now we're talking about pets, and we're talking about zoo animals. In level 1, we learn some basic weather, and then in level 2, we're doing weather forecasts. So we're getting that simple future tense in. So it's very, very scaffolded, lots of opportunity to review though, because one of the things I found when I taught with VIP Kid is that you taught this unit and then you went on to another unit and then they forgot stuff, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this way, if you taught level 1 weather and now in level 2 you're doing weather forecasts, well, if they've forgotten some of those weather words, there's lots of opportunity to review and incorporate that into the weather forecast unit.
Okay. So you kind of expand on it. Actually, that reminds me of my kids' school. It'd be like they'd learn circles in first grade, but then you'd learn them in second grade, but expand on that, and then each year you're learning that same thing, but it's getting more in depth and stuff. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so sentences get longer, you build on it, you know more vocabulary related to a topic. Yeah. So that's sort of, level 1 has like my immediate family, like mom and dad and sister and brother. But level 2, we were talking about grandma and grandpa and aunt and uncle. And so, but again, you're still reviewing and obviously talking about the people in your family. So
I like that better. Yeah. Instead of the family unit starts, but then you keep going with family and then that's over. And then you go to something else, like you said, and then they forget.
Exactly. And so, I find that because they need that reinforcement, especially if you're teaching ESL, because they may only be speaking English with you or a little bit in school. And so having that reinforcement helps them retain their vocabulary and retain their learning. And that is often something that's missing. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, I have all of your links to your website, how they can get the free starter pack, your YouTube channel in the description. Is there anything else you want people to know?
So if anyone is looking and wants more than the starter pack, you can get the whole curriculum for $9.99 a month. So that is a founding rate. Ultimately, it will go up, but right now that gets you basically 340 lessons. By next week, there'll be 350 lessons probably. And, it gets you the conversation, the phonics, the writing, the core curriculum, everything, absolutely everything. And so if you're looking to simplify your prep and get more time to do the things that you want to do, whether it's exercise or spending time with family or any of those things, then check it out. So. And if you're looking for other free help, check out the blog, because there's just like I have YouTube, I have tons of articles about, what you might be teaching or trial lessons or whatever. So.
Well, okay. So question. So if they buy it at the $9.99, do they get to keep the price even when you move it, or is it going to go up with everybody?
No, they'll get to keep their price as long as they don't cancel. Yes.
Okay. So it is it's like out school. If you have what was it? The ongoing classes, you could raise the price, but the people who started with you get to keep the original price unless they leave and come back. So that's a really good deal, an incentive to go buy it now.
Yeah.
Get in on it when it's new. So.
No, exactly. That's the plan, right? So they'll keep it, and then as new people on board, their price will go up. And yeah, so.
Okay, great. Well, this looks really good. I would definitely buy this if I was still doing ESL teaching. And a lot of people say they hate that, they want to just sit down and teach like they could with VIP Kid. Well, this allows you to do that. So,
exactly. You know what you're teaching, right?
Right.
Well, yesterday I taught lesson 1 in unit 6. I'm teaching lesson 2, right? So it takes that, and the lessons are predictable. So I know with VIP Kid, initially there was people like, oh, you have to prepare, you need to review every lesson. But lots of us didn't do that and just opened the lesson and taught because they were predictable. You knew what was going to come next. You knew how the lessons worked, and you can do the same thing.
Yeah. Well, that's great. All right. Well, thanks for coming on and sharing this with us. And I hope that this is going to be helpful to so many people. And this looks like a really good and interactive curriculum. So
great. And thank you very much for having me, Kelly. It's been awesome. So I really appreciate that and your help in helping to get the word out.
No problem. All right. Well, Thanks for coming here live, Kathy and Lacey, and for those who will watch later. Bye, everyone. See you next time.